It's on right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is with unbridled pleasure that I have
Yes.
the opportunity to welcome you to participate in an experience like nothing ever known in the history of the entire existence of this planet we so humbly call Earth. The show that touches on everything from money to wealth, mental illness to physical health, gratitude and self esteem, the disillusioned American dream. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm inviting you to wake up with the Sam I Is Show with your host, Simeen.
Okay, I think that's too loud sometimes. Sometimes I think that's a little bit too loud. But I don't know. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Samin. I am the host of the Sam I Is Show. I want to thank y'all for hanging out with me this morning. I got it in the morning. You know, I've been off the last couple of days, catching these almost close to midnight podcasts, videos, and stuff like that. But I had to force my way back on schedule. Of course, I haven't worked out yet, but that's a whole nother thing. I'm appreciative to you being here today, and I wanted to talk about some things. I have a lot of I keep saying I have no friends. I have a few friends who we talk and debate on things. And I had a friend the other day ask me about education because I went back to school late. I think I went back to undergrad. I was 28, and I mean, there's a story. There's a story of that's never too late. It's never too late to go back, right? But you know, it was late. Well, everybody, and I was as old as the adjunct professor, like that type of late. You know what I'm saying? And I had a lot of life experience, so I have a different opinion of education. But first off, I want to say I'm pro education. I'm pro education. I'm not pro student loans and the debt, and I'm not interested in the conversation of America and the debt for student loans hitting trillions. That's somebody else's conversation. I don't, you know, I don't own any student loans. I paid it off. I took out way more money than I should have. I went local. I went to BMCC. I'm from New York. I went to BMCC. I transferred to FIT. Every, I went to FIT. Then I went to Hunter. I graduated from Hunter, and then I went to City College to get my master's degree. So I stayed local. Outside of SUNY was FIT. That was I got a lot of credits there. I got like 50 credits, history, and I got to learn a lot of things. I'm still figuring myself out, which is one of the reasons why I'm so pro school. But just let me put this out: school, education. You go to school, you learn some lessons, you take a test on the lessons that you learned. School, ta-da, that's it, right? Now, can you learn those lessons on your own? Yes, you can. Can you avoid? Yes, you can. Will you? And I'll flip it around instead of saying will you, I'll say would I have? Of course not. Of course I wouldn't. I I don't do it now. You know what I mean? It's not something that I would do. So to have a space with people who specialize in certain things, give me their little piece, right? Because I do film. I know, and I can teach you a little piece, the way I know it, the way I absorbed it, and I will have you get it. That's what you're going to school for. You're going to school for that. That one little piece from every little subject, but it's an introduction to a world that perhaps you've never been involved in. So I think that that's a great opportunity to do. Do you have to pay for it? No. Should it be free? That's a whole nother conversation and discussion. But there's something to be learned by that. Now, I went to my master's, which I wasn't interested in at all, because I was like, I can't do another year or two. It was a 2 year program of what I had just experienced. No matter how I look at it, no matter how I flip it, no matter how I rub it down, flip. That's what that Belle Biv DeVoe. No matter what, I can't describe undergrad as anything other than a hazing. It just was non-stop for my brain. Older, having not been in school, it's so great to go right after school, right? Go, because you're still in that, your muscle, and you flexible and stretched out. By that time, I had been like restricted, and I'm in this room, and I'm showing up with my beautiful adult pen and pads and all this stuff. And my brain is like, what exactly? And I'm writing all the notes, but I don't know what. I'm just like a dictator. That's not. I'm just recording everything he's writing. What is that thing? What's that person in the court? I don't know what that is called. What is she? Or he? Or he? Or he? Right? Although I've never seen a man do that. But I'm in class and I'm doing that, but I can't put it together. So I was an older student, and that was rough. That was a little bit rough for me to take that on. But it was a hazing, science, language. For real, I'm learning Spanish in my 30s. No bueno. It just was, but I did it. And I graduated, and it was like, oh, okay, this is great. Wasn't the first one in my family to graduate with a master or with the undergrad. Then the conversation before I even graduated came up. Well, you want to start looking at your master's program, and it was like, well, who's doing that? I don't know anybody with a master's, and I'm sure I was around people who had master's degrees, but how do you know? I'm like, that's not part of a conversation that I'm in touch with. I know nothing about that, and I'm not doing any more of that. Then I discovered, because somebody told me, they was like, no, you get to pick what you want. You get to learn about just that. So in the quest for education, it was like, so what do you want to do? What is it that you want to do? This is me. I want to make film. I thought about the most outrageous thing that you could say that would shut the whole thing down. I was like, yeah, I want to be a filmmaker. Now what? And it was like, okay, so find a program. I was like, wait, what? What? And then I found the programs, right? And I'm not going to give you my whole journey because there's some stories in there. But what was great about graduate school was, again, for me, it's a 2-year program. You walk in. Now, I walked in the same age as mostly everybody because the idea is you go to undergrad, you go work into the field that you want to do, and then you get a degree because there's certain things that are not available to you unless you have a degree. That's just the system. That's just how it goes. Like, I can go to a school and say, I would love to be a professor here. And they don't care where I got it from. Do you have an MFA? Yes, of course I do. Look, it's on the resume. And I'm allowed to at least be interviewed. It doesn't matter if you make 800 movies. If you don't have that certificate, you can't get in. That's taking care of their own, right? Which is fair, right? It's fair. I've been hazed in undergrad, and I'm here. But they give you an end date, and they say, this is what you will produce in 2 years. I have no clue how I'm going to produce that, but I produced it. I produced the product. I did a film called First and Forever, right? Had little to no experience. The movie First and Forever. It's about how does a black man, right? How do black men learn to be men being raised by mothers, right? And that's the thesis of it. So it's called First, like the number one with ST and the ampersand and that and sign, forever. Of course, it's 4, the number 4, and ever, EVER. I got to think of EVE. First and Forever by Samin Priester. Ta-da! That's the 16 minutes and 33 seconds. The last time I looked at it, I just was like, oh, I see all the errors. But it's a pretty good film. I won a few awards. It's pretty good. Pro-education. I'm pro-education because of what I've learned, right? I was in a situation before I went back to school. I was getting older. I went back at 29. I remember sitting in my boy's house. We were sitting in his house listening to Nas out. It was Nas's album. Smoking weed, right? And the song came on. It's something about the mayor and the president, but DMX was on this song with Nas. And I'm sitting there and I'm chilling, and it's his apartment. We're the same age. I think I'm actually older than him. He's in this apartment in my building. Like, my mother had helped him get this apartment, and we're the same age, but I'm still living in that childhood bedroom. But we won't touch the unspoken level of dysfunction in that, right? Because I'm not functioning. I'm low function. Pridefully so. Listening to that song, and DMX says, and for those who don't know DMX, that's your fault. It's not my fault. You should know DMX. he, he's a rapper, and he says, "Wake up, 40 years old on some bumps." You know, it's his line. Time flew by. You was too fly to see the light. And I remember hearing that line, and I was like, "Wait, what did he say? Wake up, 40 years old or something." That altered my life. I had never heard anybody say that. I had never heard anything like that. Silently, I knew the life that I had, right, wasn't the life I wanted, but it just was like, well, you know, whatever. It's just what it is. One day it'll change. One day my prince will come, right? And that was the thing that planted the seed that led to everything else. To everything else. Because now I knew that, wait, there's a group of people who know that you wake up like a bum. You know my secret fear that I sit with and I live with. And I don't know how to get out of it. And that's when I started losing weight and ended up going back to school and entered the 12-step program. I knew I had to do something other than what I was doing. And so in that space, why I'm so pro education is because that gave me a place to go, a place to alter myself. Like I get to alter who I am because apparently I was incapable of doing it without any loss of power. I was incapable of altering my situation on my own. I had more than enough time. I had more than enough time to take it on. Now, I do know that there are people who can sit alone and say, you know what, I'm going to read this book. I could have read every play that I ended up reading in school. And I could have read, you know, the Chekhovs and the Ibsen and all the stuff. I could have done all of it. It's just Shakespeare. On my own. Could have smoked some weed with my boys. I was hanging out. And could have said, you know what, instead of watching and playing video games, I'm going to go do the Shakespeare thing. Not for me. Now, I know that there's some people who can. But see, the argument with education versus no education in the world of the dead and what you really get, and look at me, I'm making money now, it has nothing to do with money, right? It really doesn't unless you're a doctor, a lawyer, I could be wrong, social worker. Like there's certain jobs you cannot get without that education. I do not want a doctor or dentist touching me who hasn't taken education thoroughly. Now they might not be an A student, but there's certain things I expect certain people to have had a degree in and studied, taken tests. But there's some people out there that you don't necessarily need education, right? But I wanted it. Like I wanted it more than some of the benefits that I've gotten with like speaking, right? So, you know, being in speech, I learned that I have a certain way of learning. I learned that in the university. Not in the universe. My head's like, the universe told you, but in the university, I learned that, wait, this medication will slow some. So I have a thing that's called this, and it's ADD, and it was a Delt set ADD, and also that with the dyslexia, and it wasn't just backwards words. And I explained this before. It wasn't just backwards words. It was certain numbers. Like I could spit out certain numbers, but then sometimes if the numbers written wrong, it could get in my way. But certain number flows don't work for how I see and how I trace, and how by the time I get to the end of it, I don't connect to the beginning. And all that's a learning. That's a learning. That's a situation that can be handled, right? And I suffered until I found that out. And I found that out because I went to the university. I'm in school. Things are not working. I'm doing a tutoring and I'm sitting back with people. And then it comes up like, yo, dude, maybe. Because you had to be gentle talking to a man, black man. I'm still closer to the hood than anything else because I still lived in it. I'm still of the hood, right? I don't know if you ever get rid of that. And I don't even know that it ever has to be a thing to get rid of, except the mentality of it, right? And it was gentle. It was sprinkled like hate. It was sprinkled on, and it soaked in, it marinated, and it was like, hey, maybe I could get some help. Oh, so they do things in school where people with certain learning conditions, perhaps you get longer time. Oh, that works. Because the moment a person leaves, I'm already like, oh my God, I start getting anxious when it comes to learning. I read super slow. I forget the beginning, and it's like you sound like you really special, and it's like, but I get it though, but I get it, and I got it, and I did it. So, and outside of like saying ask instead of ask, little things, little things like that, converse instead of conversate, and it's not pointing and picking, but there's certain times that in the world of code switching, which is used for knowing foreign languages, there's a language that is foreign. And sometimes it's the English language that's like, why is that? Why is obfuscation? Who put a B before F? Who wrote that? What I'm saying? Like those type of things is a different language, and I can go back and forth. But to have the ability to know when I can use it, to know when I can be this person and hang out to make these people comfortable, or this person, I'm thinking about my people. I got a person I speak with, and it's like, yo, what's good? What up, son? What's popping? Yeah. And then that works. That's probably who I am most of the time. My daughter be like, what's good? What's good? She come out, be like, what's good? Now, she is a language specialist. Because I was like, yo, she playing Mario? She was like, Mario? I was like, what? You playing? I'm next on the Mario Kart. She was like, Mario Kart? And she does that to mess with me. You mean Mario? I'm like, Mario, what do you... Language. She gets it. She knows all her vowels, and the how she speaks is just so foreign to me at 10, right? And then to be in the office and say, yo, I know how to speak like this, and I know how to engage, and I know how to participate in the world. And it sounds contrived. It might be a little heavy, but there's certain things that you got to know when to be able to be in different environments. And I learned that from going to school. Plus school, and going to school, you get to travel. Study abroad is dope. That's a dope thing. How else would I mean, I know I could have gone to India. I could go to India anytime now. I didn't know that then. But for that amount of time and traveling with a group of people where it's safe, there's certain aspects of school that are brilliant. And they have altered my way of thinking. The no school is you come across tests in life, and how you behave with them, and how you handle them, and how you engage with them. Then you learn a lesson. It's the opposite, right? It's the opposite. And I know people have been brilliant for years without education. There are not too many people that I know that are brilliant without education who don't speak about how brilliant they are without education, which leads me to believe there's somewhere in there you wanted it. Like it's this chip on my shoulder. Like I've done this and I didn't get educated. Who asked you to get educated? Who was even talking about that? Nobody was even talking about that. So why are you bringing that up? Which leads me to believe they have their own counter conversation. Listen, if that's something that you want to handle, and this is what I told my friend. I said, listen, first of all, right now school is online. I wouldn't at 40 go to school. And I've been dancing with the idea of a PhD because I owe that to Barack in my own mind, right? I was like, Barack became president. If this black man becomes president, I'm getting a PhD. Maybe not, right? Maybe not. Probably not. I have to clean that up and make amends to myself and forgive and forget. But if that's something that's calling, so what I tell him, I'm jumping. So what I told him was, well, there's a lot to be gained from having education. It's a lot to be gained, and it's money, and it's time, and not a lot to be lost, except for time, right? Time, if you can be doing something else. If you're going to be doing in that time something that you can actually learn from, that you can, like, you can do the lessons and then you see the tests, you can do that on your own. You can take the tests in your life and then learn lessons that are like, oh my God, look, I figured this out. Then maybe you could save yourself a whole lot of time and money. It's been done for hundreds of years. So this is not a new conversation. And at the same time, there is a space for, you could go somewhere, like, I have opportunities to have learned from Pulitzer Prize winners of certain things. It's like, when are you going to get that opportunity? And maybe that means nothing. Maybe that means nothing to anybody. I've sat in rooms with certain writers, and it's like, you wrote that? You directed this? Oscar award winning filmmakers, like stuff like that. Now that's to be able to talk and have a straight conversation and ask my personal question. So you pay for access. These are certain things you pay for. Now, could you watch it on YouTube? Of course. Of course you can. Will you? And will you do it in a way that's not like I'm watching that while I'm cooking and I'm dancing? Will it become a course of study? So that's what it was for me. And he's asking me because I take learning very seriously. Because I think it's a clear separation for us as a group of people. I know if you're not going to go out and conquer and fail and play in life, go to school. Just go to school. Show up on time. Do the stuff. Do everything. Do all of that stuff, right? When I say everything, do the school. Take it on. I don't know what school looks like now. I'm not teaching right now. I don't know what it looks like. I know there's some fantastic professors, and if it's something that you want to be connected to, if you could get to that professor, because you have access, you can write and ask questions. You know you want to do this thing, and you want to be around the best person, and you don't have kids, because kids are serious. Kids will alter that. And if you do, and you're strong enough and you got a good enough support, then you should do it. You should do it. It actually transports you into another world. So I'm pro. There's so many reasons not to. Most of the people who stand up for not to sound like they should have, or they wanted to. And I'm not saying this for it's not for everybody. And it's not about money. If you want money, if you want to direct, go to trade school. Or go into that field. You know, there's still things that I need. There's still things that one of my fears of watching Cyan in school, even in this private school she's in, as I watch and I listen, it's not like I'm sitting in the class, but I know that you get taught to assimilate in school, in normal school. This school it's not really setting them up to assimilate. There's an assumption of a different kind of existence that we pay into. And it's not negative. It's one of the things that's like, oh, you're creating a group of people who are expected to do not work at CVS stuff. And I always pick on CVS or Starbucks, right? There's nothing to pick on. The benefits are fantastic. And if you work, they're fantastic. Trust me, fantastic. But there's a setup, and it comes from a certain amount of education. Will everybody end up being a somebody? We're all somebody, right? We're all somebody. I spend a lot of time being a useless somebody, and without loss of power, I think I'm more useful today. I think I'm more useful today based on life experience, life lessons, life tests, right? And I've learned lessons from. But that added with my education, pretty good. And my experience from my paradigms in my childhood and growing up in Harlem and all of that from Harlem to Holland, right? That was one of these things that I was working on somebody with a book on, because the plan was to go to Holland, and it was just like, okay, but it didn't happen. You could take it if you wanted. But it's that experience, to take everything that I've learned and experienced and use that to form who I am today. And it's a beautiful thing to have that if it's something that you want. My circle is filled with people who are anti. And when you're anti to me, that means you focused on it. What you focused on it for? Because I'm not focused on it. You know, it's certain things that I'm just not focused on. I could care less. Right? But when I didn't have education and I wanted it, I made it my job to prove that I was smarter than the PhD person. That became my job. I'm going to show you how smart I am. Why do you think that that's a task that you want to take on? You know, why is that something? And I'm wrapping it up. I'm going to give you what I learned. This is the best. I think it was 4 years of undergrad, 2 years of grad, 6 years. No, probably 7, because I was doing 12 credits. Don't do 12 credits. Do 18. Do 18 a semester. That's what they don't tell you. This is what I learned. I don't have to learn it. I don't have to know the answer. I can Google it. Like, for real. I don't have to know how to do it. I just have to know how to get the information to do it. It took me like serious years to figure that out. I spent a lot of time. I'm going to chip at you to show you how smart you aren't, so that you can see that that's not a job worth having. And you see that a lot with men and women. Here, I got to slip in the beat up on men and women because women always get it. I have it that women be about life in a certain way. And those little hateful dudes, I've been one. That's why I'm talking about I've been one. And it was like, my job is to bring you down to size. Why? Why? Why not lift me up and let me pull you up? And, if you want it, you want it. So stop playing this game that I'm smarter than, because you're really not. Really, what's happening most of the time, she's smart enough to know that she had to let you think that you're smart so that she could just not have that to deal with. All the other things she has to deal with, I don't have time to show you how smarter than you I am. I'll just let you have that because you don't really have much else. So I'm giving you that gift. That's a different kind of conversation that, being educated might show, because I get it. I get the grace that my late wife gave me. I get the grace that my girlfriend gives me. Because she's smart, for real smart. And I be, I'm decently smart. I be on my be on my soapbox, and she just be like, "Oh, it's nice," because she's smart for real. Like, how do you know that? How do you know so much about all of that? And most of the stuff is from school. And I was like, what was I doing in school? I don't know. Life situations. I could come up with a bunch of reasons. I just didn't. I didn't grasp it for what it was. And I didn't see the value of continuing from high school. I was like, I'm done. Once I'm done, I'm done. And I was done for a very long time. And I went out and did other things, took other adventures. And here I am today, having done those adventures and see what life is really about and see how the unworkability of it, to really sit within the unworkability of life, is a blessing for me to sit there and get it. Like, your life is not workable. And you can get it to be workable. You just need to do these things. It's almost like an agenda for life. And I think back now at the people who were around me who were throwing me like, what do you call those, lifesavers? Throwing them, and I was just like, whoa, what you throwing? Who were really trying to give me something. And I wasn't in a space of getting it. But I'm really appreciate the opportunity to have finally caught one and be pulled in. And for me, it was education. That was the first step. And then from there, the 12 steps. The 12 steps led to education, because now I put all my vices down: the drugs, the alcohol, the food, which was the secret addiction, which, of course, it wasn't secret for anybody who saw my 400-pound body walking around. But to be able to put all of those things down and get leveled, like a flat foundation, and then to be in a position to now put pieces into place, right? I got this foundation, it's leveled, it's sturdy, it's nothing but dirt. It's flat dirt and ground, and now I can start to build this life. And my first cubes were, I'm going to go to school. I want to go to school. And and learning about my learning condition and figuring that out and taking it slow and feeling ashamed, right? Feeling ashamed because I did. I felt, I'm not going to give you a reason why I felt ashamed. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed if I had to read out loud. It wasn't too much of reading aloud in school, but of course we would sit there and read things, and it was like, what is this? And I knew I had to get on it because I had to read. I don't like getting on it. I had to get about it. I had to get about it. I had to focus and start reading sooner than maybe my study partner would have to start, because they could consume it in a day. It would take me 4 days to consume something that another person consumed in a day. And that fed into my self-talk about me being dumb, me being stupid, right? And all that self-talk was the same exact talk to myself that had me take on a job of proving how dumb I wasn't. That's a waste of time and energy. It was such a waste of energy. And I get that now. But I'm in a circle with people who I see it happening. I'm like, you're suffering idly over something that's not important. Because if it's really not important, keep it moving. But if it is important, go handle that. Go handle that. Don't waste years of doing these other things. To go handle it. If it's important to me. Foundation, built it up, and I have the workings of something right now that is of my design. Of course, I believe in a higher power, and I know that, opportunity, the idea of luck is preparation and opportunity, right? That's this whole definition. Lucky, oh, you're so lucky. No, no, I was prepared, and and the opportunity showed up, but I was prepared. Got to be prepared. Got to be prepared. But that's it for me. I want to thank y'all for hanging out with me. This was my Can We Talk. I didn't even get into that. I didn't start the intro. I got to get the intro. I got to get an intro for Can We Talk. If I sample Tevin Campbell, you think they'll sue me? This is such a side thing. What is anybody? I don't know. I would like to hope not, but it's possible. And I can't. I don't have anything to give them. So I'll figure it out. I've tried a couple times, and then we'll see. Anyway, listen. Take great care of yourself. Do something nice for you. Love your daughter. Love yourself, right? Like, what does that look like to love yourself? You know what it looks like? Without being too talky. So I had some cream that was for my daughter, and I like put it on my leg. My leg looked like a corpse's leg. It was so dry. Hard water, but also just like lack of hydration. So I was like really loving to myself after my shower last night, and it was just like, I think that I don't want to talk about this. It's like, really? Is this where we going at 11 o'clock? I mean, but that's me loving myself. I had to actually take on the skin, like taking on loving my skin, and yeah, just really hydrating, and something about the word lubricating was like, that's inappropriate, which is a word that men should never use. That's inappropriate, really. Aren't we men? But that's me loving myself. So love yourself, whatever that means for you. Is it a petty, manny? I'm always so superficial. It's like, women get a manny and petty, but I'm talking to the dudes like a man. I haven't had a manny and petty in like 8 months, 9 months. Anyway, take fantastic care. Enjoy your rest of your Tuesday. I'm back to the early time. I got to stick to it. I'm gonna stick to it. Anyway, thank you for hanging out with me a little bit. I appreciate you. All right, peace.
Thank you for tuning in to the Sam I Is Show. Remember, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Only a fool trips on something that's behind them. So let's keep it moving forward and keep your eyes on the prize.
I'm not going yet. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep. What can I talk about now? No, but on a real note, we have 200, almost 250,000. Is that the number? Almost 300,000. No, almost 300,000 people. What is the actual number? I just saw that died from COVID. I saw that earlier today. But I know the last 3 digits were 911, which I thought, well, I think it's 245,000 or 44,911 people who have died from COVID. And that's a lot of people, and it's 9 months. It's a lot of people. They did the first testing today. They showed this old lady getting tested. She was 90 years old. I don't think that's a mistake. I think they're figuring out, we'll test it, and however the reaction goes, we'll see. We'll see how the reaction goes. We'll see how because she's 90, they pretty much figured out what's going to really happen. So that's in the UK. So they're already testing this vaccine. I'm watching. I'm that person who's like a year and a half from taking this. Yeah, I think a year and a half to 2 years, unless it comes into my home and it's a force. But other than that, I think I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to breathe really easy with the vaccine. I'm not creating a campaign of don't use it. I'm just creating a world of it would be okay for me to watch and see what happens. I am in this house, in my car. My daughter goes out. She goes into the world. She goes into school. Like, so I don't know what's happening. People in her school, kids in her school have been quarantined. It's happened. So it's not that young people don't get it. But right now, I don't have it. and I have a test. Oh, I actually have a test. Mercer, I have a test that I have to take. I'm going to take. I'm talking about I don't have it. I'm take the test. I got the test. It came the other day. Mercer County. I live in New Jersey. The county gives you free ones. You have to fill out this thing online. It takes a while, but they give it to you. So I'm going to take this test. And it deals with a lot of spitting. So I'm not going to show you what it's like because that's not something I want to show anybody. It's not something I even want to see. But I'll take it. But this is, I think today hit 15 million people have confirmed, 15 million confirmed cases of COVID. And, you know, the news is the news, and they're very much into like selling tickets. So they'll say, you know, this is 1 million people have gotten it in this last 3 weeks, where it took this long for them to get. And it's like, the only thing it is, we already had it, and now tests are being available. So stop doing that thing. You know, stop doing that shock and awe. It's okay. I'm convinced that we will all get it. And it will kill off people who will get killed off, and it won't kill off the other people, right? I believe that I'd like to think I would be a person who would get it and be like, oh, that was rough. That was a rough time. You know, my boy and his wife got it. He was like, yo, Doug, this is crazy. It was crazy. It was rough. It was rough 2-3 weeks, but we good. And it was like, okay, but they're both healthy citizens. You know what I mean? So I'm in that space, very concerned for the old, very, very concerned for old. And that's only right, because it's killing them off. And also there's a space where they're becoming lonely. I do a few different meetings. I do different things, and I was on the phone with a group of people, but one of the women really stressed how lonely she was. And I had to think about that. And I think about Tasha's mom, who's always trying to she's always like, come over to my house. What are you doing for Thanksgiving? Nothing. What are you doing for Christmas? Same thing I did for Thanksgiving. Nothing. I'm not interested in meeting. I could do a little Zoom meeting with you, but I'm not going. I'm not trying to get close to anybody. I'm not interested. It's not necessary. If you don't live in this house, we don't have a reason to really gather. And that's something that's harmful, right? So, and I was watching the news earlier today, and they started to show that they're going to have on the phones, right? Like an app that allows you to, I'm pull up my phone. The app that you can show that you've taken a test, and so you could go to football games and Ticketmaster and things like that. There's something about what's happening that a little nervous, right? I get a little nervous because I start to see, like, I know I've seen the movies out, and I wish I had the movie on tap, but you know, the movie where you had to show your badge of not being like this group of people or that group of people. So I see the potential of the separation. Everybody doesn't have a smartphone, right? That's one thing. And that's fine. You shouldn't have one. You shouldn't. Nobody needs. I've been looking at getting an old Razor. That was my favorite phone. Just because of how the battery life works. It's 4 days, 5 days. This is every night I got to charge it. But you can show your proof that you don't have it. And eventually, like, are the tests going to cost money? Are they going to give it? Is it free for all? Is it free for all the first time around? And does this become something that we need to have yearly? That's going to be some astronomical amount of money that certain people can't afford to have? You know what I mean? So, and it's none of that is the case, right? None of that is the case. But those are the little things that pop up in my mind. Like, oh, this could be a little bit different than we think. Like when they first started to separate, you got to wear your mask and you can't go here, and the whole where people were going. They never said we had a food shortage. That never happened, except for people went into fight or flight, and then that created a food shortage because somebody was grabbing 9 gallons of water and all of the canned goods. And I don't eat canned goods, but if you do, that's great. I was tortured from my childhood. There's something about it. Just like, I'm good. I'm over frozen guy. So, and fresh. But it created the separation and got to wear your mask and you can't go out. So when they were like, you can't go out at a certain time, lightly, I was like, this is you know about the Holocaust. This is nothing like the Holocaust. Hear me, right? Nothing like the Holocaust. But when they started to control the Jews before they got crazy, just like telling them where to go, cutting off their town, bunching them together, separating them before they started to cart them, right? What the way my brain does work is like I try to form connections, and it's automatic, and things just come. It's like, oh, you know what that reminds me of a little bit? And when I said that, I guess 8-9 months ago, it was ridiculous. People were like, what are you talking about? Here you go. And I'm like, well, can't be here. You got to be out. You can't go out. You know, we got like a state of emergency. I can't walk over on this side of town. I'm restricted to my town. I have to be in a house. What are you talking about? And now I look at this. What's happening? Well, you got to show your badge. You got to show that I'm good. I don't have it. And what about people who choose not to have the vaccine? So that becomes the thing. I'm going on a completely different range, but this is my after talk. My after talk. Anyway, just something to think about, right? Like in the world of like, can we talk? Is it just me? Or am I the only one that's like, you know, I'm taking that vaccine. I don't care what you say. I mean, I'm good. But I'm seeing something that separates a group of people. There's some people who are not going to be able to afford this. And there's some people who don't have smartphones, right? Just on that's a generic statement. Oh, a smartphone, really? But they don't know technology. So is that the old who can't handle technology that are going to be shipped off, or is it the poor? And that's not, and this whole thing, the black-white thing is just a distraction. It's you know, it's rich and poor, classes, whatever, however the separation happens, if it happens. Let's hope that it doesn't. Let's hope this is yet again another time that Samin is stepping way out of his realm and talking about things he knows nothing about. But, you know, maybe. Is it possible? Am I the only person who thought something like this would eventually happen, and now seeing that it is happening feels like, wait, that feels like that little nightmare I had 3-4 months ago, right? Like, it's definitely going to be a separation, and what happens in that separation. You know, we still got 50 million people who in this upcoming year are going to have shortages of food. So we're seeing in America that we haven't seen. And no matter how united it is, there's definitely going to be some separation in there. And I guess the hopes and the dreams is that Biden's America will do some things. He's doing some fantastic stuff. He's doing some things. So I'm not gonna even play games with that. I'm gonna fully give my support to what's happening, because he is changing the complexion, not just the visual, but like the sexual. He's just changing the temperature, and bravo, right? He has some really a team of women in there, different colors, different histories and backgrounds. So he's up to something. He's up to something. Because we had a couple years of up to nothing that was useful. I don't know if that's facts, but I do know that that's facts. I just didn't want to end saying that, like, nothing useful. He did some things that were useful. He did some things. I have some pluses dealing with him. Anyway, I bought some Bitcoin on my Cash App the other day just to see what it's like. I bought like $100. Like 5 days ago. It's up to like 120. I know nothing about Bitcoin. I just wanted to see, because I hear how volatile it is. It goes up and down and all over. I've seen it move. I'm like, oh, I guess the game would be to sell it when it's at, you know, higher, and then the 20 I should have just taken and kept 100 and keep taking the 20 and keep leaving 100. But I don't want to do all of that. But I just wanted to watch and see what it does in 6 months. See if it's in the same space. But I guess since it seems like old boy might concede, the world is feeling like we have some stability, and things look good when we have stability. So anyway, love your daughter. You see me keep reaching. I keep reaching over this to play this and end this. But I want to appreciate you. I do appreciate you. I want to let you know I appreciate you. Listen, take great care of yourself. Love your daughters. I'll be back again tomorrow. Peace.